Moving on to the U.S., wrapping a two-day meeting with the Taliban in Doha late last night. It marks the first face-to-face interaction since the botched U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan and the Taliban takeover. State Department spokesman Ned Price called the discussions, quote, candid and professional, reiterating the Taliban would be judged on its actions, not only its words. Following the meeting, the Taliban says the U.S. has agreed to provide humanitarian aid to Afghanistan. Joining me now, Michigan Congressman and House Foreign Affairs Committee and House Homeland Security Committee member Peter Meijer. Congressman, you flew to Kabul during the U.S. withdrawal. What do you make of these latest developments and talks?
It's expected, but it also shows the very weak hand the U.S. has right now. The Taliban have been surrounded and supported by their traditional allies, such as the Pakistani government, but we have yet to see any significant impression that the U.S. has influence with this group, and we need to maintain something here. You've seen the rise of ISIS-K. We've seen continuing attacks. This is a situation that could easily spiral out.
Right, and despite what Joe Biden said to the American people, when he lied to the American people that al-Qaeda was gone from Afghanistan, we also know that al-Qaeda, closely aligned with the Taliban, is still operating in Afghanistan. And of course, the security head is the head of the Haqqani network, which has a relationship with al-Qaeda. So what does the future look like in terms of us trying to fight terrorism in that region or prevent its growth?
Well, as we saw with the strike on August 30th, that was meant to be in retribution for the attack on Abbey Gate that killed 13 U.S. service members. We hit an aid worker, right? Killed 7 children. This vaunted idea of an over-the-horizon capability that we've maintained has surely shown its weaknesses. And right now, that's about all that we have. We are desperately concerned that al-Qaeda could continue to reconstitute, that other groups could find safe haven. And that was, frankly, the initiative and the goal 20 years ago, which maybe temporarily was achieved, but now we see backsliding quite rapidly.
Right. That's the reason that the generals told President Biden to keep some troops on the ground, 2,500, keep a CIA listening post in the country, because it is without eyes and ears on the ground. There is really no such thing as an over-the-horizon capacity flying drones from the Persian Gulf for hours just to do a few hours of reconnaissance work over the country. Congressman, what about how many people are left in Afghanistan, our allies, even Americans? Because the numbers, again, how many weeks was it? There are 100 Americans left. There are 100 Americans left that we kept hearing from the Biden administration.
Yeah, the number of 100, then it was 120, and now it was 80, was constantly shifted. I think it's for sure we have over 100 American citizens still left, and then there's probably family members that are in that mix. We have what are estimated to be thousands of green card holders, lawful permanent residents who are there, in addition to 10 or 20,000 loyal Afghan allies that were in that pipeline for special immigrant visas, but didn't get them issued in time and then weren't able to get through the crowds to Kabul airport. So there's a large number of folks who are still there that the Taliban could take hostage if it came to that. And right now we have seen no plan from this administration to get those folks out.
Steve Forbes, jump in.
Congressman Peter, it's going to another part of the world, Taiwan. What should we do to deter Xi Jinping from making a move on Taiwan? They've been making those huge incursions, including with aircraft with nuclear weapons. What should we be doing now, especially in the debacle of Afghanistan? Our credibility is not very good anymore.
No, our credibility is shot, and so far the Biden administration has responded with a series of strongly worded letters that are affirming our testament to prior agreements over Taiwan struck up with China in the 1970s. Right now, again, we need a show of resolve, or else we will just get run over. I'm reminded of the red line in Syria that President Obama had. I'm reminded of the tisk-tisking that the Obama administration did when the Russians entered into eastern Ukraine and seized Crimea. Authoritarian countries like China, like Russia, will continue to roll over us until we show that we are an actual superpower that stands up and asserts its alliances.
Right. It seems
would that mean hastening arms sales to Taiwan? What specifically should we do now to show that we can go beyond mere words?
I think we clearly need to make sure that there are political and diplomatic ramifications for those incursions, because, again, strongly worded letters won't do it. I'm open to other ways of accelerating. I will confess that Taiwan is not my expertise, having spent 3 years between Iraq and Afghanistan. But again, whether it's sending our forces into the region, continuing freedom of navigation operations throughout the South Pacific, and just asserting again the fact that those incursions are not just going to be responded to by a letter. That is highly insufficient.
And Congressman, to your point, weakness begets weakness. And Xi Jinping and China can surely see how we are kowtowing to the Taliban and how we have botched that withdrawal, not even protecting Americans and our allies and our friends, and having our closest allies turn their backs on us. So they surely see that. And the strongest voice on China seems to be John Kerry, who is more concerned with pleading with China about climate change rather than standing up for the Uyghur genocide, standing up for the Uyghurs and speaking out on the genocide and all the other atrocities committed by China. Like, life is full of tough choices, is what John Kerry said when asked about it. Congressman, before we go, I want to get to what your constituents are seeing in terms of inflation, the growing threat for Americans. We're seeing worker shortages that hurts particularly small businesses, supply shortages. The September jobs report was a disappointment. What are you hearing from your constituents as they face this tough road ahead?
Yeah, they're obviously seeing the increase in prices, whether that's in gas, whether that's in other commodities. Specifically, building products have been something that's been a challenge for a long time. But the labor shortage comes up over and over and over again. If you're a small business owner, this is an incredibly difficult period. If you are trying to manage your way through this pandemic, you are getting hit with that fundamental challenge of finding workers. Right. And this is one of the ironies with the President Biden's proposals. You know, the infrastructure project, great, we can have shovel-ready projects. If we don't have people to put hands on those shovels, nothing is going to get built. All of it comes down to labor, and that's before we even get to the issues with supply chain, with the shipping containers and backlogs at our ports on the West Coast, with truck driver shortages, right? We've seen how fragile the system is, and we cannot be distorting this market further.
Congressman Peter Meijer, thank you so much for being here this morning. Terrific to see you.
Thank you.